And now back to Focus on Diversity with Troy Shaw.
And welcome back to the program. Let's continue our diversity discussion. 10 years challenged. A judge recently voided a 10-year sentence for a man accused of having oral intercourse with a 15-year-old girl when he was only 17. Mr. Wilson was instead given a 12-year-month misdemeanor sentence with credit for time already served. Wilson's original sentence for aggravated child molestation was widely criticized on the grounds that it was grossly disproportionate to the crime. Now, of course, we have our lawyer here, so we're going to start this. I mean, when you think about this, he was 17 years old. She was 15. Why the heck was he even given a sentence like that in the first place?
Well, there was some sort of rape charge that was originally put against him, which he was found innocent of or cleared of, and then they were going to push the sex charge. But it's part of the problem is that we got A, prosecutorial discretion, and two, we're trying to control the sexuality of our children with criminal laws instead of with good upbringing, good media, and good behavior. And we're wasting our young. We're killing our young. And this is a crime against all of us when you put it. He was an honor student, and you put him away for 10 years. You turned this honor student into something else. And he's a waste to society. And he also says what you just said, which is it says to the African-American community, it doesn't matter how well you do, you make one misstep and you're going to get cut down. Okay, now look, if this is my kid, okay, look, you have a daughter, I have daughters, and what have you. You have daughters, I have daughters. You have daughters too? Well, okay. Then, and from my perspective, I would want the kid underneath the jail. I don't know. I'm not thinking about his interest.
The problem was they had a videotape of the whole party that was going on, and she kind of forced herself onto him at first.
A 15-year-old
the videotape showed that, and this young lady did not look 15 in that videotape. She forced herself a little bit onto him, and he was having some fun, and he just said, okay, and went through. Now, as the father of daughters, yeah, I'd be PO'd at two people, my daughter and that boy. I think it comes back around to now him being released. He's not released. The Attorney General of Georgia has said, I'm going to re-prosecute you. And what has really come down is everybody is trying to free this young man because he was an honor student, because he's been doing the right things, and because it was the wrong law. And now the Attorney General is saying, no, you're going to stay there and we're going to rehash this through.
What do you think, Rob?
I think there is a matter of accountability that needs to be held against those two young people. But the overall, the overall and the underlying problem is the way our culture is being influenced by the negative things that are being put out there through our media, through our television, through our radios. This is destroying this generation. You know, last night I saw this program where they were honoring Al Pacino, and Oliver Stone gets up there and he says, my contribution to society is F this, and let me introduce you to my little friend. This is what Oliver Stone said to this media. And this is the kind of nonsense that we need to start addressing it, because it is poisoning the mind of our youth. And when you start talking that way to a 13-year-old, to a 14-year-old, to a 15-year-old, no matter what parents try to do to correct that, it's being influenced by that mainstream media.
I would agree. Oliver Stone is just a stone cold whatever he is. But according to one of his let's move on to the next subject matter. No home to call their own. Over the past 6 years, the number of licensed foster homes in Milwaukee County has plummeted from more than 2,800 to fewer than 600, reaching what some is calling crisis levels. I'm sorry, I have a problem with the foster care system, because basically the foster care system works exactly like the old AFDC system worked. You get a child, you get $700 for that kid. So basically they took the welfare dollars and now they're giving it to people who have no connections to these children at all. Robert, what do you think?
I've always been against this whole program, this foster care thing, especially when the system doesn't make every effort to try to make sure that the child goes back to some member of the family.
Of the family.
And it just is a real shame that it is seen now as an economic incentive for people out there to go after some of these kids, and it's just wrong.
Exactly. Chris, what are your comments on that? I mean, you have a like that.
We have a family that's in our neighborhood that is a foster care family, and they've got children of every race in their house right now, and I believe they have 6 children in their home. Loving, caring people. They're part of our community. They're part of our block parties and everything that we do. My children play with them. they do good work. But there are also other individuals who think of it as nothing more than a paycheck. You see the headlines when it comes down to that, unfortunately. But the system is not working correctly. There are so many things that they could be getting from the government and from the state that nobody even shows them or assists them in how they can do certain pieces. And that's one of the pieces that they've talked about.
Sandy, that's the problem. That these people come into the foster care system, I don't think that they're properly trained to take care of these children.
No, and they're not. And often they don't really take care of the children who are already in distress, and it gets worse, and they move from foster home to foster home, and eventually they end up in Ethan Allen or some other prison. And it goes back to the theme I had last week. We've got to start dealing with these problems at the beginning instead of trying to imprison them at the end.
And for the most part, gentlemen, what we're finding out, as I stated earlier, with the foster care system is payola for child, per child. In essence, every child that you get an extra $600 to $700. Robert, you made a good point about it earlier. I'm going to let you end up with your point.
It's a matter of not placing economics over the fundamental needs of the child, and that fundamental need is for that child to be part of its family. If it could be an extended family, and that extended family being the uncle, the aunt, the grandmother, the grandfather, sister, whatever, that child needs to be placed with the family that it originated from.
And anyone within the system, within the child welfare system, who would like to give us a comment or call on this kind of thing, you see our emails at the bottom of the screen, our phone number as well. You, by all means, give us a call. And when we come back, we're going to continue our diversity discussion. Stay with Focus on Diversity. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Andy Schlesinger, president of Andrew Toyota Scion. It's been said that word of mouth is the best form of advertising. With that in mind, I invite you to listen to what our customers have to say.
Whatever I needed, the service was done in great timing, and I was totally satisfied.
A few years back, had extensive damage to one of my vehicles, and fortunately the body shop did such a nice job you couldn't tell it from new. I was very pleased.
Andrew Toyota Scion, 15th and Silver Spring, where customer service is not a department, but our passion.